function. Need input.
Some people would say I've got an obsession with vacuum tubes. Yeah, probably.
Unrepentant breaking at the seams. I think I'm broken.
I had never had the joy of having a NixieTube device in my collection through all the tube type devices I've had, restored, and been through in my life. And this one just came into Electronics Recycling Florida, and pretty excited about it. Most people don't know what vacuum tubes are to begin with, let alone a NixieTube. So, simply, a NixieTube, or a cold cathode display tube, is a tube specifically designed to display numbers. Say, think of it this way, pre-LED, before we had LEDs. It has a wire mesh setup in it with each number, their anodes, and power goes to each of them and lights them up. You know, it's pretty cool. They're pretty fragile. They're hard to find nowadays. But this unit is a GNR counter and general radio model 1191-B. It's a little beat up, missing some parts. There's some delamination onto the display here, but I am really excited about this. Never had a chance to have a NixieTube device, and I think this one's going to be fun. So, you know what? Since I'm excited about having it, it's rare, it's fragile, let's tear it apart. We'll start by removing the knobs. Many times on vintage devices, the knobs are one of the most fragile things, depending on what the knob was made out of. Older radios, especially tube-type devices, were made out of Bakelite-based plastics, which is a fibrous plastic, and sometimes even the knobs were made out of Bakelite, making them very fragile and easy to crack. Before then, most vacuum tube radios' knobs were actually made out of wood. Wood also gets very fragile with age and can crack very easily. So, you always want to be careful removing the knobs, as they're most likely not replaceable, and you'll never find another one like it again. Even if you don't need to remove the knobs to disassemble the device, still remove them. Better safe than sorry. We're going to start a parts tray up here to set all the parts, so might as well go ahead and remove that, and we'll set a magnetic tray here to hold our screws. Something cool I just noticed when flipping the unit over to see if there are any screws in the bottom. Saw these two tabs right here. Push them back, pull that up. Now when the unit's upright, it's actually got a prop stand to sit up on. Pretty cool. Alright, the unit's ready to slide out. I don't know if the bottom of it is plated or if it's exposed board and point-to-point wiring. So we set this here to set the unit on just in case as we pull it out. Alright, so this is pretty cool, and I'm actually slightly surprised. You can see my face. I probably wouldn't look surprised, but I am. This is actually a solid state unit. The Nixie tubes are the only tubes in here. So, it is a solid state socket board based unit with Nixie tubes. So, that is actually pretty exciting. It means the unit's going to be a little more reliable and we don't have to worry about other tubes for functionality. The Nixie tubes are the only ones to worry about. Like I said, I wanted to put it on the styrofoam because, as I thought, and I'll show you here, the bottom is all bare board. And this is what you would call point-to-point wiring. If you ever hear me say point-to-point wiring, it is used in many vintage electronics, especially tube-type items. Point-to-point wiring is literally what it says. The capacitors, resistors, cathodes, everything are wired bus style, I guess you could say, point-to-point. Not everything is a circuit board. Of course, on this unit being solid state, there are a lot of circuit boards, but there is also point-to-point wiring. You do not see this kind of wiring in electronics nowadays. This was all done by hand. No computers assembled this. Somebody sat at a bench and did this by hand. It could be considered an art form, especially in older units. We'll get into some older tube type units later on our channel, and I can show you the kind of art form that people had to take with large chassis point-to-point wiring. I do not immediately see any problems, and that is the only paper-topped capacitor, and it actually looks good. The only problem at all I see so far is down here. See if we can get in. See that frayed wire right there by the rainbow ribbon? Yeah, it looks like something chewed on that a little bit. That wire goes to that button, which is listed as a start-stop button. So we're going to move that wire out of the way, make sure it's not grounding out on anything before we turn this unit on and mess with it anymore. When moving wires such as this, even with a unit that is not plugged in and turned off, please, everyone in the world, ceramic tipped tweezers. I know they're not focusing in, but they're there. They're right there. Ceramic tipped tweezers. There are capacitors in this still holding energy possibly, and you don't want to zap yourself. So we're going to pull that wire up a little bit, get it out of the way of touching anything, along with the other side. Make sure they're not interfering. Make sure there's not any other frayed wires that they may be touching. Just try to kind of get them to sit back and out of the way. Alright, let's explore this unit some more. Now, some of you that are unfamiliar with vacuum tubes would ask, what's a vacuum tube? And some of you that are unfamiliar with Nixie tubes would ask, what's a Nixie tube? But I think most people in general, even if you know what a Nixie tube or vacuum tube is, are going to be unfamiliar with this device in general. What exactly is it? Is it a clock? No. That would be awesome, but it's not. This is a frequency counter. Frequency counters were used to measure oscillation, pulses per second, and electronic signals. Also referred to as a simometer. Can't say that very easily. But, you know, they're using a counter. It accumulates the number of events between a specific period of time that can be set to measure frequency, outputs, and this unit, not sure exactly what this unit was used for, but in layman's terms, it's a testing device for frequencies. Not something really used nowadays. If it is, it's going to be a small digital handheld device, kind of looking almost like a new age multimeter. We've got our power plug, 2 fuses, a switch for disable and storage. This is the serial programming input, 10 megahertz adjustment, some assembly information. This is a data out, which I am assuming was a card that could be installed that this does not have. Time base, out, inputs A and B, there are also inputs on the front. So this unit having no data out, I'm not quite sure how it would work. Maybe the notes were taken by hand, just looking at the readout on the front, and maybe this was for if it was hooked to a computer unit that could read the data being outputted. Either way, this unit does not have that data out. It does not have that card option. Units with cards like these very often had different options, different configurations. That's why they are card and slot based, so those configurations could easily be changed. Let's do the fun part. Let's turn it on, push some buttons. With an easy flick of the switch, The unit glows to life. So we've got a few different things. These are the other inputs on the front that I stated. This is a switch for that input to switch it from AC to DC. This is a switch for both of these inputs to have them as common or linked or separate. Input B also has a switch for AC to DC. Polarity and threshold for both of these inputs. Display time, which that's simple, 30 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, 1 second, 3 second, 10 seconds. Let's see, of course our power button. These are counter sets. And of course the start-stop button, which it was this one that has the frayed wire. There's also some readouts on the side here that probably only light up at specific times. Here's your range periods, measurements, frequency input for input A gate, period A, these are A, B, and then A and B together. So pretty cool. That does turn on the counting light. The button that has the bad wire does turn off the counting light. Let's hit some set buttons. There we go. We're running through the numbers. 9. Well, we got the 9. Reset to 0. Set it to counting. Let's see what it does now. 9. I had it doing it before. Actually, this top set button is actually broken. I could probably fix it, but it's pushed in. So let's see if we can. 0. There we go. Get some numbers to change. That is pretty cool. For all we know, we're making it angry right now, and it's connecting to Skynet. Okay. That resets to 0. So pretty cool. There's not a way that I can see to cycle directly through all of the numbers. Let's make those common. But still very interesting. We're going to clean it up, put it back together. At some point, resolder that wire. But before we put it back together or clean it up at all, I just want to show you a view from behind, because these tubes really do look pretty. And you know what? Let's go a step further. Let's turn the lights off in here. Alright, so that's that. We're going to put it back together and store it away for now. Later on we'll clean up the case, fix that wire, and see what we can do about the delaminating display cover. But go ahead and give it a like, give it a share, like us, follow us, do whatever you want to do, and we'll see you later.